more on this, we're joined by Mohamed Okda, who is a political consultant focused on the Middle East. He joins us now live from Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, I just want to get some background information from you at this stage. The war in Syria, as we know, began back in 2011. Thousands have been killed, millions displaced. Just run us through real quick, if you can, about how we got to this stage.
As we know, the war started almost 8 years ago, and so far there is over 500,000 dead in Syria because of the fighting and the shelling, and of course the effect of the ISIS war. At least half the population of Syria is either displaced or refugees now. It have been divided into different zones with different rebel groups. Some were backed by the West, some were backed by other countries. Iran intervened in around 2015, and Russia intervened around the same time to trump bomb the Syrian regime and protected from falling to the rebel forces that we were sieging Aleppo, Homs, Hama, and they were very close to Damascus, on the eastern front of Damascus. That all escalated into a major conflict all around Syria, using Russian troops and Russian air power to try to prevent the regime from falling. And the rebel had to lose a city after city, Homs, Hama, Aleppo, and now the last stronghold for the rebel groups is in Idlib right now. Of course, there is a humanitarian crisis, and Turkey had carried the largest burden globally as compared to other countries. More than 3 million refugees are in Turkey right now, who are assimilated in one way or another in the Turkish society. There's at least 4 million people in Idlib. 2 million of them are in immediate danger of being refugees and need to cross into Turkey if they seek protection. So Turkey needed to go into Idlib and try to have an observation unit first, and under cooperation of the no-escalation zone with the Russians that was signed toward the end of 2018, and that has not been very respected from the Russian side or the Syrian regime side, and also some of the Shiite militias that were backed by Iran into the region and into the area out there. Now, the escalation over the last few weeks were a push from the Syrian regime backed by Russia to take the major highway that connects Aleppo to Damascus, the M5, and that goes through the town of Sarakib.
Mohamed, I'm going to get you to give me more information on the M5 and M4 highway a little later. But before that, we know that the Syrian regime had intensified attacks against Turkish soldiers in recent days. But this attack that has killed 33 Turkish soldiers comes after the opposition forces recaptured Sarakib on Thursday, which brings me to the M5 highway. It is home to the M5 highway. Do you think this attack, which is the biggest of its kind on Turkish forces, is because they reclaimed probably one of the most important areas in Idlib?
I have no doubt of that. I have no doubt that was a provocation to try to get Turkey to back off of Sarakib and the M5 and to basically withdraw the troops because of the substantial losses that happened today or tonight. Over 33 soldiers were martyred in Syria, and the Syrian regime had always tried to take the M5, and of course the rebel taking it back. We have to remember it was a huge morale boost for the Syrian regime troops and for the Syrian regime backers when they took Sarakib and took the M5, and of course losing it back, it was a huge setback for them. And they wanted to make a statement and to force Turkey out of the area. I don't think they will succeed in that. I think Turkey response is going to be very harsh. Are we going to see a much bigger Turkish involvement into Idlib and to try to rebuild the regime forces and make them pay a very high price for killing Turkish soldiers tonight?
All right, Mohamed Okda, thank you so much for that analysis. That's Political consultant Mohamed Okda joining us from Chicago.